Okay, cool. That is us live. Hey, Pete, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I like your t-shirt. I think I'm a little bit more, well, maybe a bit too formal.
Yes, you've dressed up for the appearance.
I don't leave the house, so I made the effort. But
Good man.
yeah, I would just, well, we're going to talk today about what we're up to in terms of Evermind AI and the projects that we're spinning out of that and what we're up to in general and where we're going to go over maybe the next couple of months. I suppose the exciting thing is that we're launching IdeaPilot next week.
Yep.
Very excited about that. What is it? I suppose you kick off that way. And yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to throw the harder question over to you first.
As always, Idea Pilot is basically we'll get into the long term vision and where we can go with this thing, but in a nutshell, it's for entrepreneurs, people wanting to take advantage of all these new AI tools and capabilities, no code, all that sort of stuff, and they don't know where to start. And they're thinking about ideas and maybe they have some ideas or whatever, but they're not sure if they're validated or ready for the market or building things that people want. And I think IdeaPilot is essentially for those wave of people or people who are worried if AI is going to replace their job or any of those sorts of things. They want an idea, they want to jump in and start building a business online. IdeaPilot's going to help you find ideas that fit your goals, fit your founder style, your capabilities, all that sort of stuff, and just give you a great starting point for finding the right things to build.
Yeah, it's totally. AI can't replace you if you're your own boss. Well, I hope.
Yeah.
You never know. I think for me, the biggest thing is the validation point. Both of us have been there when you kind of go down a path and maybe spend a couple of months trying to validate something out and talk to people and try and say, is this needed? We've seen even in tools where we believe that we have validated very strongly and you put the product in people's hands and they're maybe like, maybe I'm not really needing this right now. And I think because things are moving so fast with AI and the technology the way that it's going, people don't have those 6 months now to go down the wrong path. It could be a very costly mistake, not in terms of money, but in terms of their time. And I think IdeaPilot is incredible in terms of the validation that will compress that timeline for them. And yeah, opportunity cost, massive thing, I think, nowadays, especially with the speed of development. And I hope that this will allow people to see ideas, see the validation, the data points behind it, and be able to get building and know where they're going really fast. I think that's what really excites me. Probably because I've been there in the experiences of trying to validate things out and maybe not getting the right data, maybe not asking the right questions. If we can, really hit that and find gold for them, that would be incredible if that's what it does achieve.
Yeah, totally. So we've kind of touched on what it is, who it's for, why are we building it, why you and me, why is this good for us?
I think for us, it's going to allow us probably, apart from the validation, the big part I'm excited about is the community element. We love talking to people that are also building, hearing their frustrations, hearing their wins, sharing their collaboration. Both of us have been on, startup accelerators, and the biggest part that always came out of that was the collaboration. Always,
Yeah.
like the cohort effect. People said, "Oh, I was there 2 months ago, and this didn't work for me, and this is how I solved it." You've saved 2 months there for somebody. People end up working with each other as well, that we have seen. And as part of IdeaPilot, we're going to have the Slack community and trying to pull people in to those channels to get those discussions going. To be like, hey, I'm here, I'm trying to build this. I've run into this problem. Who else has faced it before? For me, that's a massive part of it. Obviously, there's the ideas and the main part of what it does, but I think the community element that I hope is going to form around that in terms of the builders and
Yeah,
the
totally.
idea people and the doers. And I used to know where it's going to go, but that's my hope that that's what's going to be really, the big part that comes out of this. Yes, we can get the ideas, but the community side of it and people even spinning up in projects saying I need 2 or 3 people to join me in this journey. I've validated it. I've got 10 people that want to pay me X per month, but I need help.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely magical. So it would.
Yeah, totally. Finding co-founders or whatever is always a nightmare for people, and most VCs and things like that as well aren't injecting money into stuff unless you've got a team of two or more, or at least they prefer that anyway. From what we hear and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And like, I mean, there is solo founders out there, and this will work extremely well for them. Idea pilot and helping them. But we've been there. We've built things together. We've built things separately. I love building things with you because it's hard to talk to a wall that doesn't talk back to you. It's even
Yeah.
it's just getting up in the morning and be like, hey, how are you this morning? I'm good. What are we going to do today? You
Yeah.
don't get that. I'm sure there's probably AI tools that can talk back to you, but it's not really the same.
Your
But
AI co-founder.
like, well, it's probably already out there, but it's yeah, it's good to the way we do. Like, I mean, I know like every morning we're like, hey, how's it going? And we start discussing things straight away. It's that's makes it more enjoyable, I think, and you're not making those decisions on your own, which can start weighing down on you if there's decision after decision, and you're not getting somebody else's aspect, which will lead into the community. We're setting up the fact that people can ask questions. Like, I'm thinking about going after this segment of customers. What do people think? And yeah, that the magic of the community saying, yeah, well, we've done this, we've tried this before, this worked, this didn't work. Those sparks of magic. That's what I'm really hopeful for when we do launch this.
Yeah, totally. And in terms of, we don't really see this forever just being tech ideas. I think you and I both have an appreciation for more traditional mom and pop businesses, or whatever you call them, car dealerships, whatever it is. An appreciation for people going out there and hustling and not using tech. Obviously, it's not always as scalable or as easy to get into, but I think, do you want to talk a bit about how we could see an evolution around that side of things?
Yeah, like that's where I could see this going to, is that this is a business that AI is not going to be a part of as well. On the other side, you can go into your town centre and walk up and down the street and see how many people are actually using AI. I think it would shock you the amount of people that aren't using it yet, and how long it will be until it will affect their business. People still need to go and buy mattresses. There's businesses in America that are doing millions of dollars of revenue that sell mattresses from warehouses. You go online, you choose, you arrive, you pay for it, and you go. That's like the other side of it, which is always interested us. What do you see the main kind of differences? Obviously we're setting IdeaPilot up to be like, okay, well, this is very much tech focused, but what would you see the main differences of somebody just going out there and setting up, for instance, yeah, a wholesale mattress company that people can kind of just pick and choose? Like, is it it's the constraints, because you can get going, I think, with a lot of these ideas for a relatively low cost by using the tools that we're suggesting, whereas the traditional ones, like, I mean, you're going to have to go and buy the product. Is that the kind of, is there more of a constraint maybe for those businesses? What do you think about that?
I think, I mean, even in the past, there was a constraint around these businesses, and people like myself who have a development background or things like that could go and build these tech businesses and could do that without VC funding, without anything, because I know how to code and I can build these things. Now, with all these AI tools, they're maybe not complete zero coders can go and build landing pages, put these even prototypes of their apps, even launch full apps out to customers, payments, all that sort of stuff. They might not scale the best to huge revenues because of security things and things like that. If you know nothing about code whatsoever, there might be some loopholes and things in that. We're not advising that you can go and do this and build enterprise grade software that can replace Salesforce. But the barrier to entry is still now much lower because you can go with zero cost. If you have a laptop and an internet connection, you can build online businesses now. As long as you have the imagination for it, you can write the prompts, you can get better at AI prompting and all that sort of stuff, build your land page, build your app, all of that, and launch it live to paying customers. With, as you say, like mattress company, you're going to need some kind of capital up front to launch that business, or to buy a struggling business and take it over and things like that. Those things still really interest me, but I think you're right. It's about like capital investment up front. These ideas with IdeaPilot are just literally, it's our tagline is like build it in a weekend,
Yeah,
which you can do. You can't really build the mattress company in a weekend without some serious amount of money.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
What leads me in the question I want to ask you then in terms of Idea Pilot. So people sign up next week when we launch. What is, this is our MVP version of it. What are they going to see? What are they going to get out of it at this stage?
So MVP is essentially, we will let you sign up. This might not always be for free. I think eventually we're going to paywall some of these features once we learn enough about the problem and all of that. But for now, for a limited time, you can sign up and get the most out of this for free. That will stay with you if you get a few ideas for free now. Once we paywall it down the line, they're just still going to be in your account. You can still have access to them, things like that. And the community as well is also free as of right now. Join up, be a part of the kind of founding community. So when you're signing up, you're going to get a short questionnaire. It take you 60 seconds to fill in, basically asking you about your skill set and some of your goals. And we use that information then to match you across all our ideas. So we have, I think, for launch, 150 validated business ideas in there that have all been thoroughly researched, that have information about the market, even things like tech stack and things like that. You can use our AI matching algorithm to go through and give you basically your top 5 ideas with founder fit scores for each one. So you kind of know like this one really fits your skill set. Obviously, you have to like the idea too. So that's why we give you 5 of them to start so you can go through. And the other thing you can do as well is just browse our database of ideas so far. That's probably going to be something we paywall some of the information in the future. But for now, as I say, all free. Go sign up.
It's and I think the fact if we're bringing people in to the Slack channel, we'll be able to have, for help for us, it will be helpful. What works, what doesn't, what do people like, what do they want to see? It's like, feedback at day one, which is really what, we want to do. We want to build something valuable for people. So, it's my hope, and I'm sure yours as well, that we're getting that feedback really fast. It's such a small feedback loop. If people are in the channel saying, okay, I find this idea, but what's next? And like, I mean, we've talked about what does come after this, and I think an idea is an idea. It's the kind of execution part. Is the name of this channel, Decanted Execution, playing a bit of a love of wine as well, but execution's where it's at. An idea can get you to the front door, but that's about it. And like, I know we've talked about the other features and kind of helping people along that path and creating those frameworks and playbooks that are repeatable and are trackable. And I'm excited about that part too. But I think for this initial launch, putting out there, getting the ideas, getting people involved, getting feedback from them is a good step. And again, like, we could keep building, and I think we've seen that in the past. It's better to get feedback as early as possible, no matter
Yeah.
whether this is a product for founders or for industry.
Yeah. I think the feedback thing's important because we're now in an age where AI can make you 10 times, if not more, productive and building things faster and all of that. But you still need to let things breathe for a little bit with the market to let people see it, to let people get their attention. I think in this age, some of us are in danger of building things 10 times faster, so therefore we want the feedback 10 times faster. And that just doesn't happen. And I think
Yep.
there's so many people shipping these ideas weekend after weekend, and that's fine. Build the idea fast, get it to market, test it quickly, and all of that. But at the same time, we need to let the ideas breathe a little bit to let people discover it and all of that sort of stuff, because that bit hasn't sped up with AI. People still take their time. In fact, maybe even more so now, because they're getting inundated with all of these businesses and AI tools launching, that maybe it even takes a bit longer for them to discover your product or your idea or things like that.
Massively, like the expectation on the customer side, like an enterprise sale is still a long process. You know, just because you built the product 10 times faster doesn't mean that the enterprise sales cycle has reduced in any way, from talking to people. And I think there is not a bubble, but there's definitely something in, tech. Like, we're in this, we're seeing the releases by OpenAI every couple of weeks, seeing hundreds of companies spun up every day. When we first launched Pay here in 2019, it was a very different environment, shockingly different from today. It is harder. There's no doubt about it. And I think we had time. I feel like, on reflection, like in 2019, we were able to get the page, the landing page set up and iterate it, and talk to initial people. Whereas that just seems, that was maybe like a month or two of work. Whereas now that the expectation is to do that in a day or two.
Oh yeah, I mean, go to V0, fire in a couple of prompts, upload a PDF of your business idea, and you're sitting with a landing page in a few minutes, like less than half an hour. You can throw these things together now. Whereas even I know back when we launched the Pay Here landing page, like we paid a good designer to create us a version of it, and he was away doing that for a week and a half while things sat still. And nowadays, you couldn't even dream of launching things like that.
Yeah, like, and I mean, personally, like when I look at that and see that, like, I mean, there's very few chances to come up for air now, is what I would say. I mean,
Yeah,
like, you're in it and you're running 100 miles an hour, which, like, I mean, certainly there's some days I come off line and I'm like, my head hurts. This is like, everything is running so fast. But
oh yeah,
then everybody that I would meet, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not boring people, when I meet them in a pub or out in coffee. Like, I'm asking everybody, I'm like, are you using AI in your business or your job? Do you know? And a surprising amount of people that really aren't. They're
yeah,
using, yeah, oh, they're like, oh, yeah, I use ChatGPT, to help me with the odd email. But they're not automating their processes. They're not letting people go. Yeah, certainly there's the bigger companies like Microsoft and their layoffs, and some other people that are charging ahead. But it pulls me back down, and it gives me a bit of comfort when I do meet these people and they're like, we're not using AI, or we're not allowed even to use it yet. That the rest of the world isn't running as fast as us folks in the tech industry.
yeah, totally. It brings you a wee bit of hope that everything's not going to just be AI, and we're going to be like, what was that Disney film,
Oh, I
Wally or something? No,
Wally, yeah, like, I
Wally.
mean,
Yeah,
that's we're 3 years away from that, so we've got 3 years.
2027.
Like, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, like, as a developer, like how it's changed, what you do in terms of, like, going back a couple of years. Like, from my side, the relationship, obviously we have a tool as well that we've in development, Funnel Vision, in terms of helping find leads and get out there with people. So, like, it's changed how, like, I would have worked in that side of the business. But, like, how over the past year have you seen that change in development? And probably the bigger question I would have for you, where do you see it going in the next probably 18 months, in terms of developers?
Well, first of all, forget the past year, because I think the biggest workflow changes have happened in the past few weeks. And yes, I feel your pain when you say some afternoons you're just sitting with a sore head because things are moving so fast. For
So,
development, even more so. So essentially like the first wave of things that came out were Copilots baked into your editor, so things like Cursor, Windsurf, all of that, and certainly they sped you up a ton and helped with things, particular things that you aren't necessarily that familiar with or know off the top of your head. So like complex JavaScript stuff. So like we had to build one of those draw your signature boxes for our wealth AI product. And I've never done that before. Don't intend on doing it again either. And so AI, you just go into Cursor and tell it, give me a box to draw a signature. A few iterations later, you've got working code that would have taken me tons of research, going to Stack Overflow, Google, all that, looking up how to do these signature boxes from other developers that have done it before. And it's trial and effort and back and forth. AI just does it for you now in a fraction of the time. That stuff's been great. Um, in general, like getting it to build bigger features for you and all of that sort of stuff as well. Brilliant. But the biggest change in terms of actual workflow, because this is, you're still in your editor, you just have a wee prompt down the side that you can type in and ask ChatGPT to do stuff for you. It's showing you changes in your editor and you're hitting accept or reject or things like that. It's still largely the same workflow. The biggest change is all these background agents that have come out in the past few weeks. So you've Codex from OpenAI, you've GitHub Copilot, which we've used extensively. We've Cursor background agents, all of those. Those change your workflow. So instead of doing stuff inside your editor, you're now writing feature requests essentially or bug reports, handing them off to this AI agent. So GitHub Copilot, for instance, you're creating issues on GitHub, writing them all out and hitting assign to Copilot. And he goes off in the background and does all the work for you, submits pull request, you code review it like you're reviewing code from a junior developer. So the workflow changes essentially you're managing all these AI agents doing their work, code reviewing it, making sure it's okay, merging in the code. And it's basically like an engineering manager of sorts, managing these junior devs who are going away and doing all the work for you. And I think if you're not used to that sort of stuff or skilled in that area, that's going to be a bit of a change for you. If you've already done that in the past with junior devs or whatever, then it's more easy to reason with. And obviously, you're leaving out a whole bunch of things that don't need dealt with, like HR issues and all of that. You're not actually managing people here. You're just managing the work that they're doing. So it's a bit easier. But that's the biggest change in terms of workflow. So it's a big efficiency boost, but with this new wave of background stuff coming in, it's more about sending the AI off to do stuff in the background, code reviewing it after, guiding it to make tweaks and changes to get it perfect, and then merging the code. And I think that's going to change a lot of people's workflow going forward.
There's one point that I'd love to chat to you about, and it was brought up. I met somebody that works for the university yesterday. They led the masters in marketing, and they talked about a lot of their students using ChatGPT now. And then we also met with a really cool individual who owns a software development agency in Belfast. Again, what came up in both those conversations was lack of foundation. And it was cool. You had me in V0 last week spinning up landing pages. I was having a lot of fun. I was chatting to it, and then when it didn't work, I was like, why is this not working? And it went and fixed why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there was no chance of me fixing it if
Yeah.
that wasn't there. And both the person who is doing the master's course said when it turns off, they don't have a foundation in terms of knowing why it's telling it to do that
Yeah.
or why it should be done that way, because they're skipping from foundation to intermediate. They don't have that level of understanding. They don't want it, and they don't need it. To be honest, right now, they don't.
Yeah.
And it's the same. When we talked to the owner of the development studio in Belfast, he was very much like the foundations aren't there. Do you see? Do you not see that being a massive problem for particularly developers in the next couple of years who are brought up not having to have that foundation of knowledge? Or will the tech be good
Potentially.
enough that they don't even need it? Is that where we're going to go, or do you think like, because I know you're like, this feature's been spun up, but I was able to see where there was a problem in the logic. Is it going to get better to the fact that that's just never going to happen, so they don't need that foundation, or like, what do you think about that?
So just on that, yeah, like these AI things, they really surprise me how good they are. But there is like one time out of 10, it just does something crazy. Like we saw last week when we were doing something and it just started making up data. We asked it to pull data from a source and it just started making it up. You kind of question that and you're like, why would you do that? You were given very clear instructions and they do just hallucinate and they do just cut corners or do things that we don't have any comprehension or understanding of that don't make sense. And I think that is just because it's not actual intelligence, it's reasoning and repetition. Sometimes they get stuck or sometimes they create issues. And yes, if you're a senior level dev or have a lot of experience, you can spot those things and just reprompt it or wipe it out and do it again or fix it yourself or anything like that. If you're someone who's only ever used these AI tools, first of all, half of those things you're not even going to spot. You're just going to be like, this is broken now. Why is it broken? And you're not going to know. But I think those people are also going to get really good at using the AI to debug the issues, to fix the issues. And maybe that's a learned skill that over time, rather than them having the foundational knowledge, they're just learning how to use AI in different ways to make the AI get the foundational knowledge or make the AI understand and debug the problems and things like that. And it is going to get better over time as well. Like the AIs are going to get smarter and all of that sort of stuff. But it's still the future. I don't know what it holds. I foresee that once all this software gets created, all these businesses get created by no coders and all this stuff, the demand for software engineers, I don't think is going to go anywhere but up. And I think, especially because we're going to have a lack of junior engineers because all these companies are like hiring seniors or using AI to fill the gaps. They don't want juniors. And these people who would have been junior developers are just going to go off into other industries, take other jobs, and they're not going to be there. And then once you have no juniors, you have no intermediates, you've eventually no seniors, and there's just going to be a huge shortage of really talented engineers. And so ultimately, like, that's not going to stop the world. The world's going to keep going, businesses are going to keep going, but we're going to find other ways to plug that gap. We're going to do that probably with a bunch of different AI tools or different things. And